Good morning to everyone who has already logged in. I just want to quickly check the room. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone see the screen that I've shared? You can just type in yes in the chat function. Okay. Okay. We do have a lot to cover today, so I am going to start 10 o'clock on the dot so that we can work through this demonstration. We don't have a lot of time. So welcome this morning at a demonstration of our CloudTax and CloudSec products, our solutions that we have at Caseware Africa. My name is Lynette Hansen. I am a product specialist at Caseware Africa. Today, we will be looking at product features and benefits, and we do have our product managers for both tax and secretarial on the line with us today. So I do urge you, if you have questions, you'll notice there is a question section where you can type in your questions, and those product managers will assist with answers as we are going through. We'll also have a question session right at the end if you want to raise a question at the end as well. So if we look at CloudTax and CloudSec, both these solutions are solutions that we develop in-house at Caseware Africa. So they are our own products for the South African market, and they form part of what we call the Caseware Cloud ecosystem, which is basically practice management centered around cloud. They are created, tax and secretarial are developed as add-on apps to the Caseware Cloud platform. I'm not going to cover Caseware Cloud as a solution on its own today. I want us to focus on the tax and the secretarial. But if you want more information around cloud and the other cloud products that we have on offer, you're more than welcome to reach out to account managers if you're an existing client, and I will provide contact details if you are not an existing Caseware client at the end of this webinar, how you can reach out to us. Before we go into each solution, I want to just do a quick recap about the basic benefits of having a cloud-based solution over a physical installed server installation or machine installation software. So one of the main things is probably the mitigation of risk that you get when you have a cloud-based software. It offers you a secure encrypted platform that protects your data from criminal elements, but also removes the risk that comes with having a physical server. Now, those types of risks, I mean, is if you have a server that has crashed, water damage, storm damage, with all the floods going on, flood damage. So there's a lot of mitigation of risk in that sense. The next thing is ease of access. If you have a cloud-based module, you have the freedom to work from anywhere. We saw this when we had the pandemic in 2020, where people suddenly had to move away from their offices. A cloud-based software allows you to work from anywhere as long as you have a stable internet connection. There's no struggling to get into a VPN if you don't have stable internet or anything like that. Another thing is, if we don't have a physical installation, we don't have to do backups, maintenance to a physical machine, or anything, run an update for 3 days at all ends. There's literally, it's a very low maintenance or no maintenance solution going the cloud route. Another thing is that you have more control over the users that you add to your solution. The licensing on our modules are done on a per user basis, so it allows us to control activities and have an audit trail of those activities, which isn't always possible when you have someone logging in with a SUP password. So the last thing I want to mention is that with CaseWare Cloud, you have an all-in-one solution. I know that we are here talking about tax and secretarial, but with the CaseWare Cloud ecosystem, you have a singular platform from where all your activities in the practice can be done, whether it is tax, secretarial, audit, financials. It's one place, and everyone comes to this one place. Okay. So with tax and secretarial being built into the CaseWare platform, we're in a great position to utilize client information that we've created in the cloud itself. There is functionality where we create entities overall in the CaseWare cloud, and I'll show that when I go and showcase the software itself. But basically, client information filters from one centralized place into these apps, so that we're not duplicating client information or duplicating any effort. So let's go and have a look at CloudTax. Before I go into the software itself, I want us to just have a look at what are some of the challenges that you face when it comes to tax management. And some of those would be keeping up with due dates, spending a lot of time collaborating with your clients and getting information from the clients and not actually spending it on those engagements, managing large volumes of returns, and spending so much time on that, capturing information, submitting certain types of returns manually on e-filing every time. And again, submitting high volumes of returns. So with that, I want to head into CloudTax itself and have a look at what the CaseWare CloudTax solution has to offer. So when I log into my CaseWare Cloud, basically this is what that system looks like. This is what we can see. It is a timeline of activity. I'm not going to cover cloud to its full extent. I do want to, however, head into this section that we call entities. This is that centralized client database that I was talking about earlier, where we can bulk upload all of our client information. So we can do an import of your entire client list. And this gives you basically all of the information that you need for a client. So I'm going to just quickly head into one of these so that you can just basically see what the information is that we have on here: addresses, telephone numbers, contact people, banking details, tax information. All of that is found on the profile of the actual clients that we've created. This has all of our important dates in this as well. So this is where tax and secretarial gets its information from. I'm going to start with CloudTax. So let's have a look at CloudTax. I also just want to give a note. This is a high-level overview of what these products can actually do. We do provide full training along with which is included in the licensing cost. So you can, at the end of the webinar, give us your details if you want us to just reach out to you to get the pricing and all of that. get you in touch with our salespeople. As a tax management system, CloudTax enables you to automate your tax processes from a single platform. The system is integrated into e-filing, and that integration works with what we call a SARS sync, which is your ISV, which logs in using an ISV that we provide you with. So how that works, basically, your tax practitioner profile is the username that you would use, and your ISV login is a login that we provide you with when we start setting up the system for you. So that's what that ISV login entails. So once we do that sync using the e-filing credentials of your tax practitioner profile, it's actually going to filter through a lot of information into this centralized dashboard that we can see here. I actually just want to remove this. So what you can see on the dashboard right now is we have pie charts indicating the status of our submissions by its specific phase that it is in. So we can see what provisionals we currently have that are active. We can see where they are within the process. These pie charts are also interactive, so you can click on them and see a list and export that list if you want to see those details. You have the same chart for your income tax returns. Next, we have the view of upcoming returns. So any returns that you have that have a due date within the next 60 days, you'll also see in these charts. This is a great way to know where to prioritize certain things. If we have something that is due within the next 30 days, we know that we need to start reaching out to our clients and we need to start collecting our information from our clients. Next on this dashboard, what we can see is a view of, it's an overview of our e-filing notification center. So what happens within the e-filing notification center, this is where you receive all of your correspondence. So whether it is a request for supporting documents, a notification of an audit, an error that has occurred, any correspondence from e-filing itself would come through to your notification center and you can access it from there. Right beneath it, what you see is the data quality dashboard. What the data quality dashboard does is it shows us on our system where we have entities that we've created that has invalid information. So when we created this entity, we neglected to put in certain information. So the validation will show you where the errors has occurred when we did our sync. These are the corporates whose information couldn't filter back into my CloudTax dashboard because we are missing this information. A great other place to check this is the My Taxpayer tab that you actually see here at the Practice Admin tab, My Taxpayer List, and it comes with those specific validations that it will indicate in pink where you have issues within your client list. Okay. Back at our practice overview, you'll notice that there's a sidebar here that forms part of that dashboard. We can also view missing assessments. So these missing assessments will pull through from e-filing. Mine is empty because these are not actual real SARS clients. I have one open here that you can actually just view what that would look like. It will indicate a graph per year and you can open it and see what those assessments, who those assessments are for that was missed. One of our latest features in CloudTax is the tax return analysis. This is basically some management reports that we have added to the system The two that are available now would be your returns with no assessments. We'll give you that report, you can export it, and then the other one would be your annual returns that were submitted late. So those are just some nice reports that we've built into the system. This is in our latest release of CloudTax, where you can just get those reports as well. Okay. I'm going to skip processes and just go to the My Taxpayer tab, because I want to show you what it is that you see when you go specifically to a specific taxpayer. I'm just going to use this company as an example, but what you see on My Taxpayers, you would see a list of all of your taxpayers, and you can have multiple tabs open for the ones that you are currently working on. The tabs that are available when we select a taxpayer is the taxpayer information that also comes with the validations that shows you where you have information that is missing. This is also where you can actually register your clients for provisional tax or for income tax as e-filers, and where you indicate if you do not need to process provisional returns or something for this client. This is where you indicate those areas. At the bottom, you'll also see correspondence, but this is correspondence specifically related to this entity, this client. Under our tax years and processes, it indicates the years that we have had tax processes done for this client and what they are. So we can view them and we can actually access and process them from here. Another feature that you will see is that your statement of accounts, your income and provisional statement of accounts, does pull through into the system, and you can download them from here. So let's have a look at the processes, shall we? We'll start with our provisional returns. Now, in the provisional returns, on this screen has kind of a multi-layer functionality. It will show you all of your provisional returns that currently sits in the system. You can then use these filters to actually go select what it is exactly that you want to see. So you can select the type, the year, the due dates, the status. You can basically create your own report, and you can export those if you want to see that. So let's see which provisionals are due within March, for example. You can pull that list and you can export that. Another functionality that you can enjoy in this screen is that we have a bulk submit functionality here, specifically for your provisional returns. But let's use an example where we can actually view our tax payable on this. A great example is where we have null returns that need to be submitted, but we don't want to do them one by one in e-filing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a filter in there, an equation that is going to show us all of my null returns that I have. I can then go and select the ones that I want to do a bulk submission on, and I'm going to mark them as approved by tax practitioner, taxpayer. What happens to these returns now is that they go to a section within our e-filing notification center called the queue for submission. So they go and sit, and the best way for me to explain the queue for submission is that this is like an outbox. So you know, when we send an email, it first goes into outbox before the send and receives happens, and it finally goes out into the world. This is our outbox. This is before we finally submit them to SARS. And to get that submission, we will just perform a SARS sync. Just back at the provisional return list, you will also notice that the system does indicate where we have errors on any of our taxpayers with the little exclamation, little danger exclamation. And if you hover over it, it will show you what those errors are. Okay. So let's go have a look at a specific, the workflow that we do for a provisional return. I'm going to go to my taxpayers. You'll notice I'm using the quick search function where you can just type in a name and it's going to bring up any taxpayers that you have with that name. Or we can search it. Alternatively, we can just go select one of these returns. There we go. So you can access the provisionals using the hyperlink as well. Okay. So within CloudTax, we have the same workflow for all of our tax types, which is basically these 4 steps that you work through to get to a submit phase. Okay, so the very first step is a gather information. So basically what we do here is any supporting documents that you need to submit alongside this, you would just attach the files within this step. Moving on to the calculation, what would have pulled through from SARS would be your estimate calculation, as well as your last assessment and historical data that came through from SARS. So what you would need to do here is if there was anything that SARS doesn't have, like medical aid contributions, anything like that, you would input that information here. Once you are happy with that calculation, we head into our next step, which is the review and sign off. So your tax practitioner, I'm actually just going to turn this off. I want you to have a look at the process, the status of this process. So as you can see, our status now currently says in progress, which means we are busy doing calculations and working on this. Once we get to the sign off, I'm going to say approve as the tax practitioner. And now my status has changed to ready for taxpayer review. You see that. What we do now is we are just going to select who we are actually sending this to for review. So in the CloudTax platform, you can send the returns directly from the platform to the client for approval. So it will populate an email. So this is a standard wording, which you can change in settings if you want, with a link that your client would follow. It redirects them to a page where they just do a login with credentials that you have provided them with. They can then view the IRP6 and then they would approve the actual return. So once the client clicks yes, your status here would actually read queued for submission. If the client is approving it, it goes directly to our queue for submission. If what happened now, as the taxpayer did the approval on behalf of the client, we have a final step that we need to do. You need to perform a sync and then submit from the final screen. Okay, and that's the basic workflow for our provisional returns and how that works. Moving on to our income tax returns. Similar to our provisional returns screen, you now have a screen where you can go and pull reports, use the filters of what you want to see, when it's due, what is the status. In this screen, you can also create your returns. So for example, we can see that the 2023 return for ABC has not been created yet. If I click to create it, you'll notice it gives me the return hasn't been issued. I need to do a SARS sync for the return to be created. So once I've performed my SARS sync, that return will then sit within my system for me to do. Unlike the provisional returns, here you won't be able to do bulk submissions because we do have a tax calc that we need to go through for this type of return. I'm going to use this client as an example for the ITR. So immediately you'll see we have the same 4 screens that we are, the same 4 steps that we need to go through. Our supporting documents, our tax calculation, our sign-off, and our submission. Okay. But before we can actually go through that, we need to do a tax calculation. So we'll click on Open Tax Income Return, Income Tax Return. And it will open our income tax return within a new browser tab. The great thing about this is that it is a very easy to follow set workflow that you go through. Some of the functionalities you'll view here is you can view the details around it. You can raise issues. You have your document manager, which is basically all of the documents for the return. You have a section, which is basically what you'll do first, to import a trial balance. Now, your trial balances can be imported into the system in multiple ways. For those who are Caseware online users, you can link your Caseware working papers directly to this, and your already mapped TV would sync into your engagement, which means that you wouldn't need to come and do mapping in this trial balance. For those who are not Caseware users, any accounting package, whether it is cloud or desktop or an Excel spreadsheet, can be synced into this to pull a trial balance. In those cases, you would need to go and assign those accounts, so do a mapping on those accounts. The system does allow you to do adjustments. So if we click here, we can actually do adjustment, raise a risk, or a control. We can view the issues that we've raised, or we can raise queries. This is mostly used when we have multiple people working on an engagement. So yes, the system is very much geared towards having a preparer and a reviewer. And we'll see that here when we go through that workflow as well. So you'll see there's numbering on this, but we're basically going to start with the information to create the income tax return. And it is a series of questions we work through. We answer, no, yes, the information is correct. No, the company isn't dormant. Your balances would filter through. A great feature in CloudTax is that you've got the built-in validation. So whenever there's an error, it indicates in orange, you can hover over it and it gives you what that error is and how to rectify it. Anything in red is just hasn't been answered yet. So it shows you where you have areas that are incomplete and that you need to complete. Some functionalities within these workflows is that we can also raise issues, make annotations, agree to something, link it to the document. We can also raise an issue, or we can give the sign off. So if I'm going to say, so I have signed this off, I'm happy with this, you'll see that the sign off is there, that I have reviewed and I'm happy with this. So you'll go through this workflow. Next, we'll go to our income statement. One of the great things within the income statement itself, again, you'll see that there's the validations, but there's also, let's just check. We go and click there. Where it takes you directly to your schedules. Okay, so we'll work through this under the tax return calculation. This will populate as we're going through. You can view that here as well. Another thing you'll notice in CloudTax is where we have to provide source codes, there's a very easy search function for the source code. So whatever source code you're looking for, you can actually just type into the search what you're looking for, and it will drill down exactly what it is that you are looking for. Schedules are populated as we go through, so whatever we indicate in our information to create goes here. Under your particulars, there are some additional information that you need to add in. Always indicate in red. So we work through this workflow from start to finish. As we go along, we provide a sign off. So we are signing off that we are happy it's been prepared and it's been reviewed, and you will then have your percentage show how far you have progressed within this return. Until we get to our sign off. Now the sign off prior to the SARS submission shows us where we have errors within our return. And the errors, the system will not allow me to mark this as approved if I have not addressed any of these errors. So there is a quick jump, so you can use the hyperlink to go to the specific document where the error is found. Until you get the zeros, you are able then to mark this as approved. You can also select to print the ITR here and select which documents would go into that email we're sending to the client to review and to approve. So once we've approved this and we're happy with this, we can close this entirely and we can now go to our 4 steps towards the submission. So here we would add any supporting documents. If I'm adding a supporting document, you can literally just drag and drop it into your screen. I'll open it. Into close, make this smaller. And drag and drop. This thing is giving me issues now. Okay. I've already added it. So when I've added what it is, I can actually go and select whether it's financial statements or any other supporting documents. I'll indicate that it is a supporting document. My tax calculation would have pulled through. I will mark the return as signed off and the documentation is complete. The email looks exactly like with the provisionals. It populates the email, we send it to the client approves, it goes to our queue for submission. So the workflow is the same for all of these. Okay. I'm going to move on to the trust returns. So when it comes to a income tax return for trust, so CloudTax is, with CloudTax you can do the tax types, income tax returns for individuals, companies, and trusts, as well as the provisional returns. We currently do not do VAT returns, and no, we do not do PAYE returns. So again, we'll see a very similar workflow to the previous one that we've had. If we go and open our income tax return, some of the differences you'll notice in the income tax return for tax is that we're not importing a TB. We will, at certain sections, input the data like our incomes, our incomes received, our capital gains and losses and such. So again, we're starting with the information to create the tax return. We'll answer the questions as we go along, indicating anything that we've received, anything additional that's going on with the trust. We'll input our trust particulars, input the tax practitioner details, indicate our brought forward amounts from previous years. So you'll just select the pencil and you'll select what the previous year is, what the reference is, what the amount is. Any related information you would then capture here. And then wherever we have income received, capital gains or losses or anything like that, this is where you would capture that. Capturing it using the little pencil, you would say, what is the institution, what is the account number, what is the amount? So a little bit more manual in capturing those amounts, but still a very easy to follow workflow that you're going to go through up until we get to the tax calculation, which populates as we're going through. Okay. Again, we'll go to our sign off prior to the submission to view any errors that we have within this. We'll address our errors. We'll select the documents. We can print the ITR 12T and we can mark this as approved. Once finished, we go through our workflow again to get to the submission. Our final type I want to show you today would be the income tax return for individuals. So we'll head into our ITR 12. And the great thing about the ITR 12, so typically with the ITR 12s, the taxpayer needs to get certain information from the client. So what we did when we developed this is that there is a pre-engagement section where you can actually send the data collection to the client. This is a series of very easy to answer questions that the clients themselves can answer for you. They can and then upload any supporting documents to the effect. So if they have a medical aid certificate, they would click yes and they would upload that medical aid certificate for you. So basically, these are the questions you are sending this to the client with a due date, asking them to follow the link and to come answer these questions. Once the client has done that kind of data collection for you, which you would usually do via email back and forth, you can then start the process of going through the income tax return. And we'll start again with the information to create the income tax return, answering the questions as we go along. You'll notice where we have an IRP5, if I go and click here, I can open that IRP5 and it will actually show me the IRP5 that has pulled through. If you need to edit this or make adjustments to this, you can open it up, make those adjustments. If there's an error in here, you can go into it, you can then also refresh the update and update with SARS as well. Okay, under taxpayer information, again, we're just going to capture anything it prompts us to give in terms of addresses, who the person is, ID numbers, all of that. Our tax practitioner details, the banking details, any brought forward amounts, again, we would input this. We've already showed you this. Any deductions or anything that the client has received, whether it's donations or anything like that, we would go, we can add any information there. Get to our tax calculation. The thing with the tax calculation is that you can actually go and put in, if there has been a provisional payment, you can go and put in the amount of the provisional payment, and it will recalculate the tax calculation for you. And then we get to the sign off. Any supporting documents the client has provided will come in here. And if the IRP5 is already on SARS, it would pull through into the return. You don't have to go and download it and upload it into this as well. And again, we'll go through the system of just validating our errors. We'll mark this as approved, select the documents that goes to our client, close this off, and go through our submit workflow. Okay. Want to just go through some of the other functionalities on CloudTax, some of the other features that are in here before we move to the Secretarial. Under our practice admin, you'll notice that you have the taxpayer list I showed earlier where our validations lie. So I'll just show that validation again. That shows us any errors that we have. There's also functionality under this taxpayer list to do bulk actions. So if you want to update the tax practitioner for multiple clients, you can do that. Or if you want to update the admin years or the year ends, you can do that in bulk. Your missing assessments you can view here as well, although you do have the reports that sits on your dashboard. Our tax tables we update annually. This is if you need to go back into prior year to see the rebates, you can see that it does go back to the 2015-2016 tax year. There's a very easy import functionality. We do provide you with the wizard to do the imports, as well as a downloadable template, which you can capture data in before you do the upload. Your staff list indicates who the practitioner profiles are that are linked to this. And then portfolios is also something that is quite new on our system now. Portfolios allow you to actually create different segments within your tax practice. A good example of this is where we have multiple tax practitioners within one single practice that work on their own client basis. So I can create a portfolio. I will just show you my portfolio, which is my client base, the staff members on my client base that work with me on my clients, and I've selected my own entities that I work on. So what happens now when I do a SARS sync on my practice overview, I can select to only view my portfolio. So I'm not seeing everyone in the practice's details. I'm only seeing those pertaining to my own clients. And I can focus on that instead. Finally, under settings, this is just where we can go and set up who is our default tax practitioner, and we can use the setting where we can pull our PAYE figures through into our provisionals from our last assessments. So that is pretty much the CloudTax. So what are some of the benefits of using CloudTax? You can manage your deadlines easily in a single view. You can manage your taxpayer information and your tax returns. You can communicate with your team and with your clients directly from CloudTax, and you can use it to update calculations, update forms, and everything with regulations. So we keep up to date with your SARS compliance. Okay. There's also easy import features from your major accounting platforms like your Caseware, Excel, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks, all of that. And you can directly get information from your clients using the app. Okay. You automatically pre-populate your tax returns. You can reconcile your provisional returns in a single view. You can process taxpayer information and submit that in bulk, and you manage the entire tax practice, everything in one platform. So there's no, we're doing our returns in this system and then in this system and then in this system. Okay. We still have a few minutes left before we can head into questions. So I'm going to go into the CloudSec platform immediately, and then we'll do questions right at the end. So with CloudSec, so CloudSec, similar to CloudTax, also has a very similar look and feel, but CloudSec is basically, it's a secretarial management solution which allows you, which automates certain processes for your secretarial, keeps you up to date with compliance, with certain dates, with automated registers and certificates. So it just streamlines everything that happens within your secretarial space in one platform again. So some of the challenges that we face when it comes to secretarial management is keeping up with due dates, specifically on your annual returns and your compliance checklists, managing the registers. I know a lot of people do it manually or in Excel, and it's a hard thing when your client base grows. Then managing large data sets. So if we have large entities that we are doing share transfers and updates on, it gets a lot if we don't have an automated system doing that for us. Ensuring that all relevant CIPC forms are created and submitted, and also the compliance of those forms gets challenging. It's a whole back and forth, and then having the appropriate insight on what is exactly happening for our clients gets challenging the bigger we get. So let's go to CloudSec now. Again, we go to our menu, we select CloudSec. You'll notice that the practice overview looks very similar to CloudTax. So we want to keep that look and feel, have a continuity in the look and feel. So on our practice overview, what we can see here is, first of all, it's going to show us all of our clients, an overview of exactly what's going on with all of our secretarial clients. So we can see now we have our active tasks, and just a task in terms of what we view as a task would be any process like a annual return, a memorandum of incorporation, a share transfer, a change of director. Those processes we term as tasks. So you're able to see how many active tasks you currently have within the system. You are able to view an age analysis of those tasks. Again, all of these are interactive and you can view them and see who they are. Another great functionality of CloudSec is that you have the ability to do bulk tasks. So specifically your annual returns and your compliance checklists, we can actually create those in bulk. So if I select a bulk create on annual returns, for example, it is going to look into the next 60 days and then populate those annual returns or compliance checklists for us so that we can see what is due within the next 60 days. This is great because one of the things that one of the biggest feedbacks we get from our clients is that they are unaware of when they have annual returns due, and then they miss it, and then they sit with penalties. So having a dashboard that shows you where you have due dates so that you're not missing any of those returns being filed is a fantastic thing. And then my favorite feature of CloudSec by far is the data quality. So with missing dates being a big thing that people complain about, the data quality check actually scans our entire Secretarial client base when we are doing a bulk create, and it will give us these warnings that says you have 166 clients whose profiles do not have a date of incorporation, meaning our system cannot populate 166 of your annual returns that you are now going to miss, and you're going to pay penalties for, and you're going to go bankrupt. So I love this feature. It shows us exactly where we need to validate the client information that we have, and that we can put that in to our system. Okay, moving on to the task section that we have here. This is literally like a reporting function where we can go select what we want to do. We can put in filters of what we want to see. We can say, I want to see annual returns due for a certain month, or I want to see something specifically assigned to a specific staff member. Let's say we just want to see Lynette's stuff. So it literally shows us we can pull lists of whatever we want to see. We can export this. This is just a great reporting function. If I go to the My Clients tab, it will immediately give us a list of all of our secretarial clients. And like with CloudTax, you can have multiple tabs open. What you'll see under the client information within the tab that you have open, a lot of the information has pulled through from our client entity, but certain data we do need to populate within CloudSec. Things like our role players, like our shares, all of that. So to get that into CloudSec, we do a task that we call a data take on. Of basically who the shareholders are, where the shares are, those types of things. Just give it a second. I'm scrolling too fast. Here we go. So to get specific client information in here, we would do what we call a data take on. Why is it doing this? There's certain ways that you can select what tasks you want to do. You can type in name. You can type in if it's a specific document. There's our data take on. Once we've done that, you'll be able to basically see who the role players are. Who are our directors? Where are our shares? Who are the shareholders? Another great feature of CloudSec is that it actually would auto-populate things like share certificates. I'm just going to open this so that you can see what that would look like. Okay. Some other documents that does get auto-populated when we use CloudSec is the registers and certain types of reports. So when I have a client selected, I can go to reports and I can view the registers for the directors, the client status, the history of the client, particulars of company, and then there's all the registers. I'm just going to open one of them so that you can see. But the thing that happens within these registers is whenever we have a change of the shares, an allotment or a changeover or a share class change or anything like that, it will timestamp the latest change to these registers. So you always have updated registers and you didn't really have to go and capture them manually at all. Okay. The next tab under the client profile you would see are just all the tasks. So this again will show you a list of all your tasks, but specifically pertaining to this client. The notes feature within the My Clients tab under each client. This functionality was built specifically to capture notes for when something has occurred, when something has happened. You need to kind of, I want to say, record it so that there's a history and you can view what has happened. Let's say, for example, a new secretarial person starts and this person needs to see the history or something. So we can capture notes here. There's specific types of notes. So these notes are specifically regarding shares. So we can see on the 7th of June, Myron made a note that says the share certificate number 4 was skipped due to human error. These notes can be captured for anything. So let's say, for example, the MOI was someone neglected to submit the MOI to CIPC. You make the note so that the history is here and we have recorded what is going on. So that's the main functionality of notes and what you can use it for. So just in terms of what CloudSec does in terms of CIPC compliance and other functionalities, I'm going to do just a few examples of tasks that you can perform within CloudSec. So I'm going to stick with new beginnings and we're going to do just a few tasks. Let's start with something that is very general, popular, mostly everyone does it. Let's do a change of director. Within CloudSec, CloudSec is built to create workflows for us. So the workflow has the specific requirements based on the CIPC compliance. So in this workflow, and for this workflow specifically, we'll have 4 steps. It is going to ask you to provide literally everything that CIPC is going to ask you. So there's 4 steps. Each step has an X. We need to achieve a tick mark. So in the pink or red or whichever color it looks to you, you are going to say, what is this director that we are wanting to change? What is the nature of the change? Did he die? Did he resign? Did he move somewhere else? Was he not reappointed? What is the change? I'm just going to stick to something like a resignation. Let's not make it overly negative. And we are going to provide a date to which this needs to happen. Very important detail is that you make sure that your entity details are correct for this person. What is the addresses, ID numbers, contact details? It needs to be in there, otherwise you won't get your tick mark. And then we're going to just say who needs to sign off on this change. Now, if we scroll up, you'll see that we have achieved our tick mark and we can move on to our next step. So our next step being supporting documents, it will indicate in red exactly which documents you need to upload. Certain things we do have set templates for, so we do have resolution templates built into the system, so you can generate them directly from CloudSec. Things like a power of authority, you would need to get either populate yourself or get from a client. And the way you would get them in here is you can either browse, and with browse you can go drag and drop whatever you need in there from the desktop, or select whatever you have from the cloud. If you don't have this document at all, you can request a document from the client. So we can say who the person is we want to ask for this document. The email gets sent to them. There's a link that they follow to just upload the document into this workflow for us. Let's go generate this resolution so that you can see basically what it looks like and how that would work. We are doing a resignation resolution. We are going to give it the resolution number. Going to give it the dates the meeting took place and where the meeting took place. Who is signing our resolution? I'll show you a preview of that. So you can change the wording, how it looks like, put in your own letterheads, all of that into these documents, and we then complete this. Okay. So now we have our resolution, and the only thing this resolution needs is a signature. So we can send this to the client for signature once it's generated. So we'll just say request signature. Okay. Once we've achieved all of our supporting documents, we move to our next section, which is the creation of that, in this instance, Core 39. The system will populate a Core 39 for you. However, this is not a bar-coded Core 39. So in aligning with CIPC, they currently make use of the bar-coded CIPC tracking number that's on the document itself. Ours does not have that. So what you can do is you can just select browse. If you have that Core 39 from CIPC, just place it in here to get your tick mark. Once we have everything's been signed, we head to our final step where we go and create this bundle. So I purposely didn't finish all of this because I wanted to show you how the system actually doesn't allow me to finalize anything if I'm not compliant with what CIPC wants from me. This is to ensure that we're not uploading insufficient documentation to CIPC, so that we can avoid a back and forth. So once I have all of this, I complete this and I prepare the bundle. It's a PDF document. You have the Core 39, you have all of your supporting documents. It's in the appropriate upload size. You can just go to eServices login and you can log in and upload those supporting documents. You'll also note there's no direct link into eServices. We currently do not have an API for CIPC. Yeah, I know what I want to say. Okay, I'm going to do one more task before we head into questions. I see we've already passed the time on our webinar, so I'm going to do one more task. Let's do something like a reclassification of shares. So we're going to do the reclassification of shares within our new beginning. We'll see our workflow that was created for us. Basically, it's going to ask us, we want to change ordinary shares to B shares. It will show us all of that details. It will ask us for a date. And we're going to say allow gaps. Now we've got our tick mark. Next, we'll head to our reclassification itself. So here you have the option to reclassify all or to reclassify specific. It will show you how many unissued shares you have. You can go then and just select, put in the amount. Change that and you'll see the remainder of what is going on. It will then show you how many unissued you have, how many there is under this ordinary shares, how many there is under the other shares. You can go generate the certificate. Under supporting documents, you'll also notice that it's going to ask us for a resolution, so we can generate the resolution. It will have populated the specific certificates that we need, and then we go and prepare our bundle that we submit. Okay. So, in CloudSec, what are some of the key features that you can enjoy in CloudSec? You can manage all your deadlines easily in a single view. You can maintain all of your registers. You can manage all of that bulk information and tasks from one platform. we definitely have our finger on the pulse of compliance when it comes to CIPC. So all of your legislative changes, new forms, new requirements, we incorporate into our software to make sure that our clients are always compliant. You've got a lot of filters and functionalities in terms of managing your tasks. There is the functionality to create multiple documents. There is a collaborative effect where you can share with stakeholders, you can monitor your tasks, and that pretty much is CloudSec. One thing I did want to mention about both tax and secretarial is that at Case for Africa, we aim to have new releases. So when I say new releases is new functionalities every 12 weeks on these products. So what you see now is not necessarily what it's going to be forever. The great thing about cloud software is that we can develop new functionalities at quite a fast pace to make the software bigger and better for our clients constantly. So I'm going to just check if we have any questions that have been answered. I see that Michael has answered most of the questions here. Yes, the program is as fast as mine is. The recording will be available afterwards, so you will receive a link where you can actually access the recording of the webinar. There wasn't a lot of questions asked, so I don't really think that there is a lot of questions to actually post on the screen. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to share on my screen now contact information. So if anyone has additional questions or you want to see, you have questions with regards to the pricing or the licensing, you can either leave a request on the Caseware Africa website, which is www.casewareafrica.com, or you can give our sales team a call on 010-494-0000. If you're an existing client, you can get in touch with your account manager, or I've even gone as far as to say you can contact me directly with any questions you want, and I can answer your questions and I can get you in touch with sales for pricing, etc. So I'm going to leave this on the screen for a few more minutes before we log off of the call. Okay. I hope everyone has taken down my contact details and you can pop your questions to me directly. I am going to close down the webinar for us now. You will receive a recording afterwards. And then I do look forward to hear from everyone present with regards to questions, concerns, anything like that. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend ahead. Keep safe wherever you're going, and we'll look forward to hearing from you.